Hey, good morning, guys. Michael Clark with BAM Weather here on the New Year's Day. Happy New Year's 2024. Hey, remember for New Year's 2024, we get what we tolerate, right? Everyone can set all the New Year's resolutions and things that we want. 85% of those people fail within the first 3 weeks of the year. Those are the facts. Facts are stop tolerating things, and all of a sudden you'll notice your standards, they change. So let's get into the forecast. All right, we've got a very exciting forecast. If you've listened to me for several weeks, I've talked about the 50-50, the 60-40 split, however you want to look at it, the risks in the forecast. If the vortex doesn't break down, the tropical forcing would suggest a milder forecast. If the vortex does break down, that could trump everything and make it really cold. Last couple of runs, the data has certainly indicated that the vortex wants to, in fact, split into two again. If that's the case, we're starting to lean colder here, all right, and stormier as well. And so it was just very, very important to continue to lean on the fact of the 50-50 risk, because the tropical forcing, the Pacific jet pattern, has not been favorable to deliver Arctic cold and winter pattern. And that's why it hasn't gotten here yet, okay? Mind you, it's still January. It's January 1st, and it's still not really here yet. And if you go back to a lot of the messages and notes from December 5th, 10th, 15th, a lot of folks were really swinging for the fences way prior to this period. And we just weren't in time for that. And that's why I've said all along, anyone that's claiming to have the smoking gun and the absolute answer to this forecast are just not being honest, because there's too much risk. There's no way to know what's going to happen. It's just not possible. We're getting closer, and we're getting a better idea. I want to break it down for you and show you the latest. Very stormy here coming up, all right? The pattern is certainly active. Big storm this weekend, probably snow, winter storms, blowing snow, you name it. It'll bring down in cold air. That system's going to work through the area Saturday, Sunday, into Monday morning, okay? Then another system here by day 8 or 9. Big storm system that all the models are picking up on. There will be a lot of fluctuation and track changes. I'm just showing you that a storm's going to be there. I think the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, these are all in play here. And then another storm system here by day 12 or 13. Again, I think we're all in play. Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, Northeast for winter storms. All right, there's no question about it. The probability of snowfall exceeding 6 inches or more, all right, exceeding 6 inches, is from the European ensemble. Really, again, you can kind of see where the corridor of the highest probabilities are based on that 100 different model ensemble for snow to accumulate of 6 inches or more. There's a couple of opportunities in here for sure. Obviously, your higher elevation snows out west. But this is really where we're going to be focusing on a 50% greater probability of snow here over the next 2 weeks. It's certainly, this is an impressive parameter from the ensemble. It's certainly one that we'll continue to monitor. Now let's get in. This is not a forecast, a detailed forecast on the short term. This is a long-range analysis. Let's get into that. This is the overnight run-to-run change for the 60, 11-day forecast. You've got the European and the GFS. All right, GFS on the left, European on the right. You can see how much warmer it got in that time frame. Why does this continue to happen? Why do we continue to kick the can down the road? Guys, how many times do I have to say it? Because our Pacific jet stream, our North Pacific pattern, is not cooperating. And so the long-range models can get cold every damn day if they want to. They can just keep getting cold, and everybody's going to tout it and scream it and shout it, and it's going to keep kicking it down the road and keep delaying because the Pacific pattern isn't timed yet. Okay? We've said for weeks that the first 10 days of January will be cold and stormy. It is absolutely going to get cold and stormy the first 10 days of January. What we've also said is the risk period is that 10th through that 25th or so time frame. We're starting to get a better picture into that now. All right? But this is why this is happening, is because the Pacific pattern hasn't been cooperating. For those of you in the energy space, natural gas, trying to look at how cold is this versus the normals. Well, listen, it's not cold versus the normal. All right. In fact, we're not progged to get above the 10 and 30-year normals right now until probably somewhere around the 10th. Okay, so it's colder. Yes, we have a couple of days here where we spike above the normals. But look at this. Let me show you something. Okay, you can see it very, very clearly. New EPS is the solid red line. Old EPS is the dashed line. Look at what it's doing. This is just a warmer trend. Right? Same thing with the GEFS. Old GEFS, new GEFS. So again, we're kicking the can down the road in terms of getting true, meaningful Arctic air. All right, now the overnight run of the GFS high res went bonkers, and that may actually have merit mid-month with the PV split being possible. But let me tell you what's going on. Let me show you. All right, this is the EPO. I'm going to come down here, move this down to the left a little bit. This is the EPO forecast. Because we are currently, look at this, we are not negative in that EPO until about the 10th. The 9th of January, we're still positive EPO. So the models continue to kick that can down the road. Look at this. Let me prove that to you. Here's the Europeans' trend in the EPO forecast. Look at this. This is absolutely awful. So we've had multiple failed attempts. I mean, multiple failed attempts of negative EPO, and now at this time frame, we're in a positive EPO, right? Multiple. Now look at what's happening here. Now we're starting to see a trend downward here. All right? And what's interesting is the tropical forcing may actually be encouraging this. We're going to talk more about this in just a second. This is a in the weeds video. So I'm really explaining the technicals here. This is a big deal to see this. All right? That's why the vortex is starting to split again, because we're getting Pacific blocking. That's what's happening. The North Pacific is going to start to go to work on the other side of the vortex. That's why this model has started to do that again. Now, we'll go back to the all model forecast again, indicating that your Arctic oscillation is going negative, your NAO is going negative, your PNA is going negative. It's a stormy pattern. And there's cold air available, so there's going to be snow, and there's probably going to be a lot of it. In fact, I think there's a couple of monster snowstorms the next 2 weeks, big ones, big snowstorms for sure, no question about it. Here's the pattern at hand. Okay, you've got the 1 to 5, or this is basically day 5. I'm sorry, this is day 5 here. Okay, you can see what's happening. Look here, no blocking, nothing there in Alaska. All right, so you're not incredibly cold just yet. But what starts to happen is this starts to connect. You see this piece here? Watch what happens by day 10. It connects. Your ridge bridges here. You've already got an impressive North Atlantic ridge, right? We'll change this to black so you can see it better. What this does is this creates the squeeze on the tropospheric polar vortex. It's in one piece here. Here it's not. It's separated because of the blocking. It sends the Arctic air south. You see that? Okay, it sends the Arctic air south. Now we have bona fide risk here of actual pattern change. CONUS cold. Everybody gets cold. It's because of what the tropical forcing is doing. Hold that thought. I will show you why or how. I'm not just showing you models and telling you cold. We've got a nice ridge bridge at 500 by day 15. We've got a totally split TPV, tropospheric polar vortex. That's the vortex at 500 millibars, not the stratospheric polar vortex, albeit it does split too. We'll show you that in a second. Look at this. By day 15, CONUS cold, west to east, north to south. You're cold. This is the combination of the European and the GFS. All right? Take it here. Take it a step further. Look at the 11 to 15-day clusters. Everybody's locked in. The only place that might not be locked in, up here in New England, possibly. All right? Because of that big North Atlantic ridge. That does not mean it cannot snow and snow big, because I think that it can, and I think that it probably will. Here's the day 15 chart. For the most part, we're locked in. I think day 15 is probably going to feature some cold air. The two clusters here I strongly agree with. I think cluster 2 isn't the right solution. I'm going to explain why now. All right, here's the MJO. Okay, what the models have tried to do for some time now is say we're going to go into this phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. The GEFS does that. Okay, the European is really, really starting to have second thoughts. Okay, it's got a lot of ensemble members out here, no question, and it does struggle with maritime continent convection. But I've noticed something this morning that I think is interesting that I need to point out. Okay, I want to show you something. I want to show you zonal wind forecast. A lot of times the zonal wind forecast can block the overall movement. All right, we're looking at phase 3. So can anything get past here? Right? We've got the strong westerly winds in the Indian Ocean. Here's what we have working here. Easterly zonals. Strong easterly zonal winds. Okay? Note why I use the automatic arrows. I can't draw arrows very well. But my point being, this is the GEFS really working against the MJO moving. I think we're getting into a situation where possibly we could stall into 3 and go into the null phases. Now again, remember, my concern in the forecast risk initially was that we were going to go into this. And that, I don't, again, I can't tell you enough. I can't come out here claiming I just knew it. I know it. No, I don't knew it. I didn't know it. Whatever. That's why there's the 50-50. This is an analysis, right? So just I'm trying to teach you something as I forecast. European, show you the same thing. Know what's happening. Okay, I want to show you where phase 3 really stops about right here. This is phase 3 up. Okay, anything west of or east of this is going to be phase 4 if it can move. Okay, same thing here. Note where the core of the easterly winds, see what's happening? Is I believe it is blocking the progression of the tropical forcing to really get in further right now. Is it possible that it can still do it? Yes, but now what we're seeing is a block in the progression. And this is what happens. Remember I showed you phase 3 in a positive AAM of the MJO is cold, but phase 4 is warmer. The angular momentum will go negative. That's not going to be a part of this video. I'll have to talk about it later. My point being, this map here really starts to take shape. It really starts to possibly be the one that we could lock this in further. I do think there are warmer risks along the extreme coastlines into New England with the active stormy pattern, because you get that storm-induced warmth out ahead. Regardless, though, you can still snow, and I still think that it will. But I think the winds, the zonal winds, are possibly blocking the advancement of the MJO, which could be favorable for us. And that's why I think we're now starting to see cooperation in this right here. This is key. This is the European. Boom. By January 9th, it splits the vortex in half. Okay? Now, what I want to show you is something very important. Where does that vortex lobe go? Boom, right here. All right, we'll stop it on. This is day 7. This is a day 7 split. All right, let me go a little bit further. Right there. There we go. Okay? Day 8. Let me show you this. Here's your lobe here. You've got a lobe here, the vortex, and a lobe here. You're working on it from both sides. I talked about this Twitter Live yesterday. And you're sending a lobe down here into the Great Lakes. This is why I think the forecast here has a risk to trend colder into week 2. Okay? So I think we're going to start seeing, this is probably going to stop happening. And I think we're going to start seeing a big signal for Kona's cold here, and a big shot of even, again, reinforcing Arctic air by day 15 if the vortex wants to continue to cooperate. You're asking yourself, Michael, what could screw this whole forecast? Well, it could be the MJO. I think we can get into that 70-30, though. I think it's possible that now we're looking at the potential of at least a more sustained supply of cold from the vortex lobe being tossed down into the Great Lakes. It's a lot. You know, I mean, we talked about this last video. Scenario 1 was if the lobe goes further west, the Arctic outbreak can stay west. If it goes over the Great Lakes, it can go further east. Well, we're kind of looking at a combination of the two now. And here's why I think the pattern can remain active. I'm going to show you this. Big storm Tuesday in the Bering Sea. That's going to be a big storm probably right around the 15th through the 19th of January. Big one. It's going to be a big storm. And then there's another one behind it, probably one around the 25th of January. And then there's another one that might be right at the end of January into February. Okay? So, long story short, this right here, couple of big storms, and the cold comes in, and the risk now, the PV, having more of an influence on this pattern, and it really muting the tropical forcing is encouraging, and that's what I'm seeing. So, hopefully that makes sense. It's not a slam dunk yet, but it's looking good. We'll keep you posted.